Right, Kevin, lovely to have you on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Once again, thank you very much for meeting us. I know that you're very busy with everything that you're doing here over the week or so that you've been here, but how have you been?
Been great. Thanks for having me on the show. Really excited about 2024.
Yeah, it's obviously a very sort of busy time for town at the moment. Lots of things going on and off the pitch. I suppose the first thing that we'll get to, which is obviously always the big talking point around the summer, is the transfer window. I know that you've spoke a little bit on your diary with Dave about it. How do you think it's gone so far? We've brought some great players in.
No, I think it's gone really well. I mean, we've got about a week left. In fact, I think a week from today is the deadline. You might know I was literally coming over from Jake's office, who he had Mark Cartwright in there, and we were talking about the latest activity going on. It's still there's a lot that will go on this last week. We plan to be involved in the process.
No, that's brilliant to hear. And I know that at the start of the window, you will have probably set some targets out. I know that you like a striker that scores goals like we all do, but is the plans to still bring forward-looking players in, get a goal scorer in there as well?
Well, as I've said before, I like what Michael Duff has said. He said we'll try to bring players in, and we'll bring them in though if they're better than what we have. And so that's really where we really sit today, is we're actively looking at the market. Really, you look everywhere, and if there's a better player, you might have a chance to sign them if they're available. But right now, it is what it is, but we're ready and we're prepared to move if we have to and need to.
I've supported this club for a long time, and we're not normally renowned for bringing 6 players in on deadline day, but obviously there are things going on in the background, and clearly you still want to make moves in the market.
Well, I would say this much. At least so far, we've played reasonably well. I think for a lot of us, we'd say in some games we played really well, some games not as well, but fortunately we've been successful. The one thing I do like about, again, talking about Michael, is that good is not good enough for him. In many cases, great is not good enough. So we really push the team harder. I feel that same way. We carry a lot of the same philosophy, and so I'm excited by what we've seen so far.
What do you like about Michael in terms of he's very sort of upfront with not just the fans, but I suppose the players as well? He said in an interview after the game the other day that even though we won, he went in and give them a bit of a telling off, as it were. I mean that's great to hear in terms of his honesty. But you must have obviously been really impressed by him with the start he's made.
Michael is a very talented manager, and I mean, I think his years of playing, really helped him a lot. I mean, also he's really, I think, got an excellent, record even as a manager, even though it's not been a lot of years. And so, my expectation is that that he's going to do very well for us. He's a disciplinarian. At the same time, he's very fair. And he's a preparer, and I mean that's what I really like. And in the end, what you always want for a manager is obviously to be a leader. He's a leader for the lads as well. So I'm really happy with him so far, and I think hopefully the fans are as well.
One thing that was really noticeable in the away game at Peterborough was that in the second half we started to slightly sit back, and he was saying, "Get up the pitch! I want another goal. I want another 3 goals if we can." And that was really noticeable by a number of town fans that were there and also watching on screen. Obviously, when you first came in, you said that you wanted, good attacking football. You want to see goals. I mean, for you, that must be a bit of a dream to see your manager saying, let's go on and score goals.
Well, that's what I mean. The reason why we align the way we think is because my feeling is when you're playing any sport, the game is over when it's over, and you really ought to go, 100% until then. And so what he really means is, don't take the foot off the accelerator. Just push it all the way to the very end, because as we even saw at our last match, I mean, it was pretty dominant, for the first half and maybe the first 10 minutes of the second half. And to be a little bit of complacency, among the lads. And I can tell you that after the match is over, there, as you alluded to earlier, there was a discussion about that, and I like that. And I mean, I suppose just like what he said is, sometimes it's if you see some of these things that you need to correct, it's better to see them when you win than what it is when there's maybe an upset or an issue, and then you try to correct it after the fact. So I'm happy overall a whole lot, but every game is one game at a time.
Tell us about, obviously you said about last season and the experiences that you have watching the games, particularly in the States, but I mean, this season obviously we've got off to a good start. I mean, you must be jumping for joy, particularly when you watch the games over in the States, when we got the win over Peterborough particularly. I mean, that was a fantastic opening day victory. Couldn't have started better, really.
No, you're right. I mean, look, a tough team being on the road. You're new to the league after not being there for a long time. It was an excellent win. But as I said, just a minute ago, you're only as good as your last match, and that's the other thing that I like about Michael. It's the same way that I feel, and that is win. Sometimes you win ugly. Sometimes you win in a dominant fashion. Sometimes it's that day where it just doesn't seem to be clicking, but you find a will and a way to win. And so we've done that so far in one way, shape, or form in our first few games. I expect our players are really in great shape, and again, that's a tribute to planning by the manager. So I'm really optimistic, but again, it's one match at a time.
How key is it to hold on to some of those players like Tom Lees, Michael Hellick, Josh Garoma, that are championship players, have done it at the higher level, to make sure we keep them to have a good basis to carry on into the rest of the season with?
Well, that's something that I leave up to Michael and to Mark and really the recruitment staff. I mean, it's something that we know that as you sort of look at a trajectory, and where you want to go. Our goal, obviously, a year from now is to be in the championship league, but we'll have to do some planning. That happens. We'll have to do some planning, and we feel very comfortable with where we are right now. Some of these players clearly are championship level players. Some of them we just don't know yet, but when we get there, which I anticipate we will, I want to get there, we'll assess it at that time.
I want to come on to the branding and the changes that you've made around the stadium, because I, as a supporter, as you are aware, I support this club for a long time, and I came into the Morecambe fixture and was really pleasantly surprised that it looked a bit of a new stadium, really, with the amount of branding that's around, with the fantastic sort of motifs on the outside of the stadium particularly. I mean, you've been here now a week, you've got a chance to walk around the stadium yourself. I mean, the team overall off the pitch has just done a great job with that, haven't they?
They did, and that's a tribute to Jake and his team. They've done a terrific job. We knew we were going to make some investments in the off season. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing really one phase of it.
Yeah.
But we were really excited for the supporters to be able to see it, and I think over the course of the next year, plus everything goes the way we believe it will go, they're going to be even more excited, because we've got plans right now. There's development going on, below us, where we're creating a location where the fans, it's called the H-Town, and it's going to have up to about 800 people, almost just under 800 people are going to be able to go in there, have a fan experience during match time, and then during off season, we might have other activities as well, and I'm really excited by that. But that's just one of probably 3 different changes we're going to make in the stadium that you can't really see externally until we bring you in, and we're really excited. And I think we're anticipating this is going to open up around October.
Brilliant, fantastic.
So really, I think you'll be excited, and the fans. And I'll tell you, it'll be particularly nice because if the weather is inclement, we're going to have a place to go to. And if not, they can go there regardless.
It will be inclement in October, most likely, unfortunately. And in terms of the kick-off with that sort of branding and idea, I mean, you talked a lot last season about, wanting to change the culture, wanting to have a winning culture, and maybe change that underdog style, which the club has had for many years now. And it has worked in some extent, obviously, when we went to the Premier League. But I think fans have enjoyed your sort of altruistic look of trying to big Huddersfield up. I mean, have you sort of had a major input into the overall message that's around the stadium?
Well, I would say this much. I would say I want this done. So if that's a mandate, it's something. But we know that. Look, we know from some degrees we have to punch higher than our weight. But at some point, we've just got to take ownership and say we are who we are. We're Huddersfield Town. This is our identity. We're going to win. We're going to go win this game. And we don't have to be embarrassed who we are. We don't have to be, think that, there's some other clubs around that sort of feel that they've got some superiority to maybe some other clubs. And I don't worry about that. We worry about we're gonna go one game at a time. And when they come into our house and they see that they've got a nice facility that they can go to, we're gonna be proud of that. And whether we're the town of old or the town of new, this is who we are.
I think the blend of the sort of the history and where the club wants to go has been quite apt through the marketing that has happened. Obviously, the new website and everything has been greatly received as well. I feel.
No, I think that you're right. We're very conscientious about making sure that we retain the history. When you look at the stadium, you can see it. It's such an important part of Huddersfield. And I would say this much: we want people to remember that, but at the same time, we want to create some new opportunities. This is the new era, an era where we shouldn't always have to look behind for great moments in Huddersfield Town history. We want to create them right now, and so we hit reset in the off season, and we're at the very early phases of it. You are right. We want to create a winning culture. That takes a little bit of time. I think we're in the very early stages of that. Look, we've got a big game coming tomorrow. It doesn't matter who it is. It's always a big game. And as I said, you're only as good as your last game. So, but we're at very early phases. I feel very good about things overall, where they're talking about stadium or club, and then just overall, hopefully what the fans have experienced so far.
Where are we with the stadium and trying to acquire it? I know that over sort of the last sort of year that you've been in charge, you've had various meetings and hope to get closer to control. I mean, is there a time that we can more positively say it's moving closer to that end point of where the club will be able to?
Well, I'll never say it's 100% done right now, but we're pretty close to it. The other thing is, I would say this much: the fact that we've made the kind of investment that we did, this is something that the club made as an investment. The other partners did not. That's how our commitment is. So we're not done yet. I feel we're almost done, and you're going to see more, Stephen, as time goes on when we are done, because I believe that's going to happen. That you're maybe not going to recognize, John Smith Stadium the way it is today.
Is that looking like hopefully by the sort of summer of next season, or 3 months?
Well, I hope it happens before then. And I feel it's going to happen before then, but until signatures are signed on a contract, we just can't say.
Yeah. And obviously you'll have been having a conversation with Ken Davey at the Giants and things like that. I mean, have those been easy conversations to have, difficult conversations?
Ken's a great guy. We have got a great relationship. He's a tough negotiator, but he's fair. And I would say this much: I think in the end, we're always going to have a relationship, with Huddersfield Giants. So Ken's my friend.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear that the two major sporting clubs are getting on. It's not always been that easy relationship. In terms of this season and going back to the football, I mean, I don't know if you know this fact. You probably do, because I know how astute you are at reading the history of the club. But the town have never won the third division in English football. We won the Premier. We've won the top division, the second division, and the fourth division. Is the aim to win the third division?
Really, the aim is to get promoted. Really, get into the championship. If it's by winning the division, or just by becoming eligible by having to win other games in the playoffs, let's do it. Yeah. I would love to be able to say we won the third division, but it's not necessary.
If we can knock you through a playoff campaign, that would be great, if I'm honest. But obviously the end goal then is this season we have to go up this season.
I mean, I would probably say you don't have to, but that's the mandate that I put on everybody, is that we need to win. So that's the reason why we work really closely with, Mark and Jake and also Michael, is to make sure that they have the right assets and resources to get up there, and that's really critical. And we, as you mentioned at the outset of this, podcast, the first week we've got 1 week left to be able to figure that out, and then until the January window, and by then it might even be too late. We saw that last year. We we spent a lot of money on at the January window, and the reality of it is there just wasn't enough there. It's a different type of player.
Yeah. And I suppose you've learned quite a lot in over the last sort of 6 months of how English football works, probably the transfer window and sort of the ins and outs and everything. I mean, it's all a learning process for you. I mean, a lot of town fans are learning a lot about the teams that we haven't played for a number of seasons as well.
No, it is. You do learn a lot about the transfer window, and you learn a lot about what happens really during this time. And I know a lot of our fans and supporters, they get a little bit frustrated because they see a player that may be available, and it's a likely person that would fit on your club, but it just might not be possible because there's so many different variables that occur. Whether it's something that's happening at the club, or whether it's something that's happening with the manager, or the player, or the agent, and those are all the variables. All the variables that we talk about when we negotiate for a particular player, is you have to take those in consideration, and that's why externally sometimes it looks like maybe we're not doing something that we should be doing, but usually what that supporter has said is already too late. We've already been through the system.
I know that you said that you got sort of player requests off Twitter quite a lot, and you passed them on, which I thought was quite, not every chairman does that.
It's pretty much true. I drive DTS crazy. I drive them all.
I did sort of hint at a certain player will be good for our team, but
a striker, right?
A striker, yeah.
I bet probably his initials maybe J, and one of them is T.
Yeah,
right?
Not John Terry.
How does it differ in your experience for kind of the British transfer market compared to what you've done previously at Sacramento over in the States?
Oh, it's very different. I mean, it's not as sophisticated, really. I mean, it's not a criticism; it's just a reality. I mean, it's very different. You sign your players generally, preseason, and then you have. I mean, the window time is generally the same, but you don't really have the capacity and the ability to as many players once the season starts. And so it's different. It's much more sophisticated here, and I'm going to guess in time it'll be more sophisticated there. That's where we sit right now within the USL. It might be that MLS is a little bit different, but much more challenging here.
Do you find it, suppose, interesting and frustrating at the same time of how sort of volatile fans get about the transfer window? And I suppose that's whipped up by, the mass media, fans that just generally talk about it anyway.
No, it's a little bit funny because Mark sometimes avoids me because he knows that I'm going to ask him about, people that we're maybe negotiating for. We sometimes might even hide because, jokingly, all kidding aside, but realistically, I mean, we know what we need. We know it really. We feel that we need to put the cream on the top of something that I think has really got a really nice design to it now. But again, sometimes those players just do not become available, or it just doesn't make sense because the type of football that you're playing, is different. So we, as you know, that's an important part of how we're. And so it might be that you could have a very talented football player, but if they don't fit the same system as you, it's going to be disruptive, and they either are not going to play, or it just doesn't look the same.
I know we're probably running out of time. Just wanted to ask you about the academy. That's something that the club's really gone for this over the last year and set up really well. And I think it's been really well received by both parents, locally, and obviously kids. You get a lot now on Twitter saying, "Oh, my kid's being inducted in the town academy," and that's what you wanted to start that process off. I think that was a big part of your sort of ethos, wasn't it?
You're 100% right. I'm really happy with the way the academy has really evolved. It's unfolded and evolved. They've done a great job. John and his team, they've done a great job really putting the structure to it, preparing us for it. The feedback we're getting from parents and early phase from some of the kids, it's the same. They're really excited, and I feel what's going to happen is we're going to take the next step in the academy process as well, and I think you guys will hear more about that. We're going to accelerate, what level we're in, because I think it's gone so well, and frankly, we really qualify right now for the standards of the different levels. So we're going to look at that. It's such an important part of the club because, as you know, you can buy and sell some players, but also having your own, ingredients coming out of your own enterprise. You might have a surplus of one, and that gives an opportunity, to really, maybe sell that to a different organization. But I'd like to get there. Right now, we're probably a couple years out from that, but we've begun that process.
And just any final messages for fans? Obviously, I know that you're going back to the States very soon, and I think you were at the Stevenage game, and you're going to be at the game this weekend. But it's just exciting to be winning again, Kevin. That's the thing for me as a supporter, and I'm sure it's the same for you.
Well, tomorrow, maybe at this time, which today's Friday afternoon. What is it? It's 3:45. Well, maybe give ourselves another couple hours, in 24 hours. We'll see how we feel. But I take one game at a time. We don't take any opponent lightly, and I mean that's why you should approach everyone the same. I'll be hopefully in a lot better mood than I am right now. 26 hours from now,
I think you're in a great mood.
but the reality of it is that I'm excited about the year. I'm happy with what's gone on so far. I'm happy with the way the town fans have really responded. They've been great. Keep it going. And we promise we'll do the very best we can.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us once again on the show. Best of luck and safe trip back to the US.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.